Knoxville, Tennessee. First settled in 1786, and with a population of nearly 200,000, it's the third largest city in the state of Tennessee. The city is known for being the home of a massive college, being at the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains, the birthplace of one of the most popular sodas on the market, a fortune in marble, and a giant river. Although one thing that is largely overlooked in the city is actually what made the marble business boom and the population skyrocket. That, of course, was the railroad. In 1855, the East Tennessee and Georgia Railroad laid the first railroad to the city, finally connecting Knoxville to the outside world. They would later merge to become the East Tennessee, Virginia, and Georgia Railroad. And in 1894, the railroad would merge with the Richmond and Danville Railroad to become the Southern Railway. The Southern and Louisville and Nashville Railroads would continue to serve Knoxville until their respective mergers. The L&N tracks are currently operated by the modern-day CSX, and the Southern tracks are operated by the modern-day Norfolk Southern. However, a man by the name of P. Clausen would purchase a branch to Marbledale as a part of his Gulf and Ohio railways. This line would be called the Knoxville and Holston River Railroad, and beginning in 1999, the new Three Rivers Rambler would operate steam-powered excursions behind their Washington and Lincolnton number 203. However, in 2010, another locomotive would join the team, officially beginning the second chapter in the Rambler's history and our program. In this program, we will be looking at the final year of operation for Southern Railway 154. We will begin with a brief history of the 154. Then we will embark on the nearly 10-mile trip of the Knoxville and Holston River Railroad. I will tell you about the highlights that the train passes, and at the end of the program, we will see the final moves of 154 under steam, and witness the official end of the second chapter on the Three Rivers Rambler. Stephen Sane Railfan Productions proudly presents Southern Railway 154, The Last Hurrah. Schenectady Locomotive Works was founded by the Norris brothers in 1848, and they made close to 6,000 locomotives until 1901. By 1868, they produced a legendary machine, serial number 505, or better known as Central Pacific Railroad 440, number 60, the Jupiter. But 32 years later, another locomotive would roll out of the factory. That locomotive was serial number 3114. East Tennessee, Virginia, and Georgia Railroad number 466 was built in 1890 as a coal-fired 280 consolidation type locomotive. She has 8 50-inch diameter driving wheels, 2 20 by 24-inch cylinders, Stephenson valve gear, a boiler pressure of 150 psi, and a tractive effort of 24,500 pounds. 4 years later, the railroad would merge to create the Southern, and the 466 was renumbered to 154 and became part of the Southern Railway's G class of 280s. 154 served the Southern Railway for many years, hauling mostly freight and mixed trains around the Knoxville and Asheville areas. Apparently at some point during her working life, 154 derailed while making a run on the famous Murphy branch. In 1946, she was leased to the Gloucester Lumber Company in Asheville, North Carolina, and later in the 1950s, she was leased to the Smoky Mountain Railroad in Sevierville, Tennessee. 154 would also serve as the Knoxville yard goat until she was retired in 1953 and donated to Chillouee Park for display in Knoxville. During the Knoxville 1982 World's Fair, 154 was seriously considered for restoration to pull excursions in the area, but the Southern deemed the task too daunting and expensive by their inspectors, so a second lease on life would not emerge again for a long time. But that would all change in 2008. Pete Clausen and his Gulf and Ohio Railroad would purchase the 154, and the G&O crew set to work on a restoration to operating condition. On July 3rd, 2010, 154 made her first revenue run on the Three Rivers Rambler. For the next 14 years, 154 would power many excursions for the Rambler. But in 2025, 154 was due for her federally mandated 15-year, 1,472-day inspection and overhaul. So 2024 was the last year to see 154 in action. As a result, the railroad decided to touch up the 154 by adding the white trim on the running boards and the white walls on the wheels. This is reminiscent of the way she looked in Chillouee Park, and the way that she looked in Revenue Service. And because this was the final year to see the 154, we decided to go all out, chasing the railroad's Christmas Lantern Express. And boy, we did. The journey begins at the Three Rivers Rambler depot at the edge of an area known as the Commons. The depot was built in 2015 just off of Cumberland Avenue, and the parking area is shared with the shopping center in the Commons. Because this documentary features videos shot over the course of 5 days, the following scenes are in order geographically and not chronologically. So each scene will have varying light and weather conditions, slight changes in 154's appearance, and different whistles. Also during the final weekend, 154's blast nozzle broke, so if 154 is not chuffing in some scenes, that is why. At 9:15, 12:30, and 3:45 sharp, with 2 blasts of the whistle, 154 powers the 6-car train eastbound out of the Commons. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to see the full documentary, I will leave a link in the description, and you can buy level 2 of memberships, and the documentary and all the other fun stuff I have for members will be available right there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.